Hey everyone, my name is Lina. I'm from SplitMetrics, and this is a new episode of App Growth Talks, series of interviews with mobile marketing, user acquisition, app store optimization experts, and also experts on mobile growth. And I'm glad to introduce today's special guest. This is Tom Nguyen. He's a digital marketing enthusiast, and Tom is also a founder of Tucmedia. Hi, Tom, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really
Hi,
glad.
what's good, Lina? Hi, super happy to be here.
Thank you, Tom. I have really a lot of questions. And the first one, I think this is logical to ask you, what are you doing now and what are your great plans? What's next? Could you share with us?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as you mentioned in the intro, I don't know if it's fancy enough to call myself a founder, but I have a something in the in a sense of a media agency. So I've gone through a couple of really cool companies that I've learned a lot, gathered some experience, and I've always been very entrepreneurial, at least at heart. So I haven't really proven that that's the journey and the path for me yet. But it's something, like I said, I've always been very intrigued by, and I just wanted to give it a try. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm basically consulting businesses, so it's more even on a freelance base at first. And then I realized that I'm not really into all that just talking about strategy and whatever. I really love the execution and the operational part as well. So I figured, hey, let's sit down and let's do business together. And next thing I know, it grew out of my control, definitely more than I could handle. So I found myself hiring a couple of people to just help me around with it. So yeah, I think in some sense, we do look like an agency right now, but I never really intended to do so. Honestly, I just like the business, I like the industry, I like to be a part of it, and yeah, worked out this way. Never would have thought about it, in a million years, really. And in terms of like where is this going, I have no idea, because like I never really even really intended to be here, and so we'll just see what the future holds, really.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. Overall, you have a really interesting background and interesting professional journey. So I'm excited to see what's next. And speaking about mobile industry, I wanted to ask you, could you please name a few things, something that you have learned during all these years in the mobile industry? And one more question, as I've mentioned, you have a really cool background. Have you ever thought about writing a book about your professional journey?
That's a funny thing. I mean, I've tried all kinds of like crazy things, and yeah, I'll say this: like, it always makes to a good story, when you're on a team building or sit down with your team members at a dinner or whatever, and talk about the things that I've tried and then failed. But yeah, I don't know if I've written a book about it, if anyone really like read it, So let's see about that. Maybe a couple of years, who knows? But yeah, I mean, in terms of the overall experience in the mobile industry, I think what really helped me, to achieve what I achieved, or at least to have that experience along the way, was really that I came into it with zero knowledge, and so I had no kind of like stigma of what's working and what's not working, and so it's just like a young guy coming in trying to understand the whole environment, the whole dynamics, and just deploy, I guess, the common sense. And we're still here.
Yeah. I wanted to show you to our audience. So,
Okay.
but
Sorry.
if you,
Sorry, it just like just
um,
okay. So, yeah. So back to the thought. Just to deploy the common sense, see what's trendy, and try to bring it in my work, and to make it work, right? So to be more concrete, I remember very vividly, actually, when I first joined. So I was in the gaming industry already, and I started in the ASO team, so not so much related to UA, and then I transitioned to UA, and and I suddenly saw the numbers, right? So I dig in and I try to understand what's the dynamics, And I realized that, oh, there is actually like, so most of the spend that's going to Facebook, right? Facebook ads, is actually going to the Facebook platform, right? And as a consumer, I would see the people using Instagram stories and whatnot, right? And then as opposed to that, it was just striking that 90%, let's say, of the Facebook ad spend is going to Facebook feed. So I just started wondering, right? Like, why don't we do more IG? Why don't we do this and that? And I remember I was actually laughed off by other, UA managers. I was like, oh, this is crazy. They were like, no, this is gaming, Tom. No, this is no e-com. This is no like not this and that. This is how gaming works, right? And so this is the stigma, right? Suddenly, as well competitive as I am, that's just like my natural trait. I actually sat down with my lead, and my lead was very empowering. So he was like, oh, if you think Instagram is a good way where we can seek growth and unlock potential, well, let's go for it, right? So he gave me all the freedom, but I have to prove myself. And now I have the empowerment of my former lead, but I also have all the other UA managers that are kind of like doubting whatever I said because it's something that's never really been done. And then fast forward a couple of months, maybe years later, I actually found that the product, like the title that I've been managing, had like at least 50-50 split between Facebook and IG. And that was super cool to me, because suddenly I'm like, yeah, like I'm showing them. So suddenly I'm feeling myself. But at the same time, it's about kind of like doubting, that stigma that whatever's been conventional in this world, I'm coming in and trying to break it, because like I don't have these conventions in the first place, right? Like I'm coming in as a junior, as an intern, not experienced enough. So that's the one thing that I think made the whole difference, really, because like now again, now I'm kind of like falling into what I kind of criticized on before, right? Because like now I know what's kind of working, what's not working. So I'm more prone to, whenever I'm working with like a junior person, to tell them, oh, this is not gonna work. But then I'm like, yeah, but low key, like I'm hoping that he or she is gonna prove me that I'm wrong, right? That it's gonna work. So I'm always trying to keep that like junior and like inexperienced mentality. Because I think that's where you make a difference, where you can actually move the needle instead of going the conventional way. So yeah, I hope that's good enough of a question.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. Some really, really interesting. That got me thinking a lot, because yes, to be the first, it's always tough to suggest something new, and this can be controversial sometimes, but in the end, such people win. You proved that you were right, and yeah, that's really interesting because, for example, me personally, I use more Instagram than Facebook. I'm not just a focus group, but overall, that was an interesting thought. And what you've just mentioned, I also noticed that newcomers, new guys, they have a fresh look on things, and they can sometimes bring in even more than people and guys who are for years in the industry, because they have like direct thoughts, and that's hard to change something for them. So really, really interesting. Thank you.
Exactly.
And when answering my previous question, you mentioned that you like entrepreneurship, and that's part of your personality. And I wanted to ask you your opinion about startups in general, and what does entrepreneurship give you?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I really live and breathe for that environment in general, so I can really like just meet a person and know if they think the same way that I think about things, right? And especially in business, it's just like a whole different dynamics. And now I don't mean in a bad way, right? I don't mean that people that are more prone to 9 to 5 are something bad. I think we need a good balance of both, right? Because I could only imagine what a disaster it would be if, let's say, a UA team, or like any team in particular in like any department, would be full of people like me. We would like all be pulling different directions, and as a team we would never achieve anything, right? So I know that there needs to be a delicate balance, but I think that part of that delicate balance, it would be very vital if you have one person, at least one person, and probably also maximum one person that kind of thinks differently the way that I do, right? Because they just try to to just like crack anything, you know. Like I look at Facebook ads and I'll be like, how can I outsmart this, you know? And I do ASO and I'm like, how can I outsmart the Apple algorithm, you know, to start indexing this and there. So this is something that, you know, most of the people that do day to day wouldn't worry about that, right? But I just really try to do all of that, right? And so to the previous example with the IG ads and everything, right? I mean, that's one example that worked out for me, right? But for one, let's say, successful, you know, test or experiment to work out that way, there are tons of other experiments and tests that didn't work out, right? And I think that's really where people that are like me, we just, you know, differ from the rest of the crowd, because it is really, you know, tough to just take that L, you know, because at the end of the day, you have your direct reports, right? You have someone above you and you have to report to them, you have to explain, you have to come to them, why you want to do this, why you need that budget, you know, why are you going a specific direction that's just different from the conventional, you know. And I'll say this, like sometimes I even have to feed them with bullshit, you know. I tell them I'm kind of like trying to, you know, like arrange the fact in a way so that they, like the data, you know, so that they speak in my favor. But then it doesn't work out and look like a fool, you know. And then you have to take, well, whatever mood that, you know, your direct report is going to be at. Yeah, it really gets tough. But I think the most important thing, and to answer a question, what entrepreneurship has taught me is to not get disheartened by that. You know, because even if you run the math and let's say you only have one good idea, one good experiment out of 10, the chances are that that one experiment is that's going to work out is gonna financially, you know, make up for the rest as well. So even though your success rate or conversion rate will be like 10%, which is, you know, the minority, in terms of the net game, in terms of like financials, in terms of revenues, you know, bookings, what have you, chances are that it's gonna be ROI positive. Let's put it that way. Let's put it in our marketing metrics, you know. So yeah, that's really one thing entrepreneurs has taught me, because it is the exact same method, just on a bigger scale, really. And when you choose it as a lifestyle, as I did right now, you know, failing an experiment could sometimes be quite fatal, you know, because yeah, from my previous experience. So I mean, it looks like, you know, everything is going well, but on the inside, like under the hook, sometimes it can get really tough. And I remember that it was not too long ago that I bet on a couple of businesses that didn't really work out too well, or at least as I intended. And I basically, you know, put all my eggs in one basket, and I was even struggling to pay rent, you know. So it's sometimes that really is tricky. But like I said, it's the way of living and of conducting business that I love, and I'm really living and breathing for that. So yeah, just gotta see it both good and bad, because I have a feeling that these days entrepreneurship and everything is kind of getting, you know, like the rap of being cool and, you know, whatnot. But yeah, just gotta get the facts straight.
Really, really great. You have really interesting mindset as an entrepreneur, and I totally agree that that's cool if you succeed and you are responsible for that success. You are a winner, right? But if you fail, you are responsible as well. So
Exactly.
you might have courage to like bring in initiatives, change things from conventional. I admire such people, Tom, really. And you mentioned App Store optimization, that you are looking how to do something better than the App Store's algorithm, right? And I have such a question. In your opinion, what's more important for App Store optimization? Creativity, inspiration, innovation, or just data and analytics? I know that again there should be balance, I think, but probably one thing here trumps another. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that if I answer that they're both equally important, that's not gonna satisfy you, right? So you're still pushing
Uh,
me one way or the other.
no, that's if that's your opinion, and if you
No,
think
no, I will just like trying to give value to whoever is listening to this. Yeah, so I think that the two sides of the coin, they're definitely equally important, right? And I don't think that if you go 100% with one or the other, it's going to work out. It's never going to work out. So you have to have the knowledge and you put effort into both. But from working on a couple of titles and trying to optimize ASO for them, I've seen that in terms of the, let's say, technical part and the data part, right? There's only so much you can do, right? Because yeah, there are algorithm updates and this and that and changes to the layout of the store. That also does a like impact the overall ASO and the metrics that you're looking after. But I don't think that, okay, if you're like an ASO manager, an ASO expert specialist that you really like put the hours in, day out, there's not so much that are changing day to day that you would be surprised by, right? So I think getting the technical part of the ASO, picture is one thing that you'll probably do first, right? But then it's gonna pay off for some time, right? And then you don't have to worry about it for too long. I mean, obviously you kind of approach the technical part of ASO with, I don't know, some sort of metadata and then this type of keywords and whatnot, try to optimize it. But then you kind of see, okay, like this is what I'm getting, right? Compared to what I had in a starting point, we made this progress, and to kind of take it as your new baseline and try to be around there, right? Unless there's something new and they will be big and changing the whole industry, right? And then I think what gets kind of more regular, let's say week in, week out, would be the creative, right? Because like with the creative, I think there is like unlimited options, whereas with a technical part, there's only so much you can do, right? So first of all, you're limited by the space. I think so previous to ASO, I also did SEO, and so SEO has kind of way more levers that you can just pull, right, in terms of trying to rank higher, be visible on page one, whatnot. I think ASO is just more limited to that regards, right? So like I said, there's not so much you can do. You only have a couple of fields that are being indexed, by both Google and Apple. And once you get it right, then that's it, right? You also have like one specific app that you're promoting. It's not like you can try all kinds of keywords, right? So like I said, once done, that's it. You can revisit it after like, I don't know, a quarter, half a year, what have you. And then if you really want to put all your effort into ASO, it's the creative, because that really is unlimited, right? And as long as you're not like violating Apple's and Google's policy in terms of what you're showing in screenshots and app icons, you can keep on testing, keep on A/B testing, and yeah, that's it. So it's a tough question, really. I can't say, right? Like I said, step one, I would definitely over-index the technical part, but over time, once the technical part is done, I would put all the effort and focus into creatives and try to figure it out.
I think that's a really good answer, because things are complex with App Store optimization, and that's a good answer because you can't choose one thing forever, right? Because many things matter here. And you also have worked a lot with paid user acquisition, right? And you are a researcher in mind, as we have already known. So probably you could open up a secret, or I don't know, share a few user acquisition tips that you discovered, or probably not all user acquisition guys know these tips. Could you please share a few things that work in your opinion today?
Yeah. Again, I think I'm just repeating myself, because I actually took the same approach from ASO to UA. I don't know, because it was natural to me, because I went first to ASO and then UA, or because it works the same. I don't know. But for me, again, even when it comes to user acquisition, I'm still looking at it from a technical perspective and creative perspective. Like I like to call it like arts and science, right? Where the art is more the front end part, what the user sees, and it's more towards the actual marketing as we know it from, what was before digital, let's say, and branding, right? And then on the other hand, we have the science part, we have the data, we have the tech, we have the understanding of algorithms and how they work, right? So you can kind of outsmart them, or I know at least that's what I'm trying to do, to outsmart the algorithm. And that's kind of like the back end of it, right? That's something that we, like user acquisitions or like user acquisition managers or marketers, we have to figure it out. But the end consumer does not necessarily see that, right? That's, like I said, that's the back end of it. And then kind of like as opposed to ASO, what is then like another element to it is the budget, right? Because usually in ASO you don't have that much of worrying about the budget, right? So here, on top of the metrics that you're already kind of monitoring from ASO, it still kind of stays the same. Plus there are the metrics that are related to spend, obviously. And yeah, with that said, I think again it's the same, right? So from a technical standpoint, you have to figure out what's working for you, right? And to be fair, I think that it's not too complicated, right? It's not too complex even, and there is not so much like even variety, because yeah. So I've been in gaming for, let's say, 3 years, right? And I've seen what we were doing right back at Good Games, and then I've seen other advertisers at like conferences and whatnot, and we would start talking. NDA or not, we would still kind of sneak in some secret sauce and some tips, and I would see that, okay, these guys are basically doing the same that we are doing from the technical standpoint, right? And then I would go to and like join e-coms, and different type of apps even. So I have managed some dating apps or some gym apps or cycling apps. So those are the subscription based model, right? And again, it's pretty much the same thing, right? I'm not saying that it's one-to-one, but once you figure out what's working for this type of business, basically, or product, right, you're good to go. And then full focus should go to creatives, really, right? So what I've been saying before, back to my previous example of Facebook and IG, it's not that I would turn off automatic placement and start running campaigns that are IG only and get to that level, because obviously I had my ROI goal to hit, right? So it's not like I can just burn cash and say, oh, I achieved 50-50 split between Facebook and Instagram. Like anyone could do that. But so the secret sauce, quote unquote, was in trying to be contextual with the creatives, right? Because just like you said yourself, like you're spending more time on Instagram, right? Okay, cool. I think most of the people are actually. And so like if whatever's working for me on Facebook, and I'm trying to force feed you with that same creative on Instagram, it's not gonna work. Like it's gonna feel like an elephant in the room, right? It's just a different. You know what I mean? Like Facebook, there is one way to communicate on Facebook, right? And that has changed over time, obviously. And now they're like younger people, and now I think it's even like cool enough for young people to be on Facebook. So like whatever, I don't know, right? But Instagram, Instagram is not working, and then you have like so many people on Instagram, right? So it's not like the people not there; it's there. Like your creative sucks, man. So that's pretty much it. I think there is no magic, no rocket science in the technical setup, So I'm pretty sure that anyone who has touched Ads Manager for more than 4 weeks, could figure things out and just like as good as anyone else, and then just go and figure out creatives, really.
Yeah, so creatives are kings, right? And the context as well. And again, you mentioned ROI, and you have a really interesting motto on your LinkedIn page, which I think a year ago really attracted my attention, along with your description, which is interesting as well. But first, let's speak about your motto: bringing ROI home.
Yeah.
This is definitely, I think, the main indicator in terms of every campaign, I think, not only paid user acquisition. But I wanted to ask, what are some other important metrics you are looking at when you evaluate your performance marketing campaigns? What to pay attention to here?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question, I think, and maybe also one of the points where I think most other folks in UA are not paying enough attention to. And unfortunately, I don't have like an answer of, okay, apart from ROI, look at these metrics and give you like a list ABC, right? But I think that you have to figure out your ABC for your product, because I've learned through managing or like running campaigns for multiple products. And it could also be like within gaming, for example, right? I've seen that even if it's gaming and if it's the same genre, let's say strategic games, right? You have two different games that are in the same genre. It's not going to be the same metrics that you need to look at that leads you to ROI, right? Because the game mechanics is different. Maybe it's speaking to different audience, but probably not if it's the same genre, right? But maybe the monetization loops are going to be different, right? So what is an indicator of like good enough indicator in one game, in one product, is not good enough of indicator in the other product, because the correlation between that indicator to the end result ROI is not the same strength, right? So what I figured out is what I need to have for each and every product that I'm running campaigns for is a funnel that starts with impression and ends with the actual purchase, right? Most probably not even like just one purchase, but I need to even kind of funnel out the purchases, right? Because there's the first purchase, then there's, okay, what's the LTV of these purchases, right? Then you have whales, then you have people that just like paid one time, then they're out, they just churn. So you also need to figure it out, but not to run too much into details. I think that having this funnel in there is, crucial. And then you need to kind of put the steps in between in a place that it makes sense to you, right? So I don't know, let's give an example of tutorial completion, for example. I think that is a good enough indicator that is like upper funnel thing to tell you that, okay, what's the percentage of people that comes from install to tutorial completion, right? Because a lot of times you would just have people that will either install, never open the app. That's kind of no-brainer in the first place. But could also be that they would start playing it but never even reach the tutorial, right? They just like churn before that. And so this is a good enough indicator, because I would see a lot of UA managers looking at their metrics and they're like, oh, my CPI, my cost per install is decreasing, and so as if automatically that's a good thing, right? But like right after that information would just pop, like what pops up in my head is that, okay, what's your install to tutorial completion rate? Because if that's dropping along with your CPI, well, then you're just like buying shitty traffic. That's what you're doing, so you need to be looking at both of these, right? And that's just an example on the upper funnel, right? Then you need to go further and further. For instance, what taught me a lot was managing one game that was super late in monetization, right? Like, I don't know, you would have the first purchases like day 14 and beyond, right? Which is like next level fucked up, because like you're looking at your campaigns day in, day out, right? You probably need to take actions on like, I don't know, 3 days kind of cohorts or like date range. And if you keep on spending and then be like, oh, in 14 days they're going to be purchases, and then for like 14 days go by and then no purchases, well, then you just look like a fool, and vice versa. Actually, like when you see no purchases and you start like scaling down the budget, and then the purchases keep like start coming in, and then you're reporting to your report, and they're like, why didn't you scale? Because like looking back, it's super obvious, like, why didn't we spend more? Why didn't we get more purchases? So again, you look like a fool. So I think there's really, it's a tough business to figure it out, right? Like I said, it needs to be done for each and every product. I've even seen that you would have to do that for each and every product, for each and every platform, because like not every platform, is behaving the same, right? So you also need to make cut there. And yeah, that's really it. Because looking at ROI, yeah, it's cool on the top level, but day-to-day managing campaigns, most of the times it's not going to work. I also had a colleague that would have like day 1, day 3 ROI and just like checking those. And if he said like if he hit like day 1 on this number, then he's sure like 99% of the time he would hit the day 7 ROI goal on day 30. I'm like, wow, this is just crazy. Like, yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, that's the next luxury to have, right? I would have first purchases coming in like day 14. So day 1, day 3, I just have 0 in there.
Yeah, when you started to answer this question, I first thought, hmm, I disagree with Tom because there are indicators like LTV and retention, which are always important. But then I thought you got a point because for sure there are games that are played, let's say, for years, and there are mobile games that are played like one day or 2 days. So you can't speak here about equal retention and LTV. And then your case, your example with day 14, it showed it all. So yeah, thank you, Tom. And speaking about mobile ads and such a platform, such a user acquisition channel as Apple Search Ads, I wanted to ask your take on this channel. And in your opinion, is it is it even possible to scale with Apple Search Ads? But because the opinions differ here, some mobile publishers, mobile user acquisition managers say that it's almost impossible to scale with this channel, and others even shared great cases of scaling on Apple Search Ads. And what's your opinion?
Yeah. Um, I think Apple Search is definitely, important, because how I see user acquisition is that you should always have like a pie of all the channels and platforms, right? And I think Apple Search Ads definitely play a role in there, or like general, we can generalize it to search ads. That I think should always be a part of your, acquisition portfolio. Uh, is it ever going to be same as, I don't know, Facebook or Google UAC? No, because the role of Apple Search Ads is different. It has its place, right? That place is probably like, I don't know, 5-10% of the overall budget, but I think it should be there, right? Because like if you ask me, okay, what about that incremental 5 to 10% if I spent on Facebook, is it gonna make like a more of a difference? Like no, because you just like want to have that search as well, right? So I definitely think that there is a place for Apple Search Ads. It's not too big, right? So that's that. Now to the scaling question, well, that's definitely tough. So if you see good results, I had to learn that good results from search from like Apple Search Ads are not just because like people would just stumble across it, by chance. Because there is the very conventional kind of differentiation between marketing channels or type of campaigns, and that's the push and pull, right? And so whereas Facebook is more of a push, right? So like users, people, they don't ask for anything, but you just like push the ads to them, right? So that's the push part. The search part is based on like incentive. So they type in a certain query, right, that contains your keyword, or even a set of keywords, and then based on that, you like your product will pop up as a result. So that's the pull, right? And so I think to scale any pull campaign, you have to kind of create that incentive first through the push campaigns. So I've seen that whenever I saw a good result, on Apple Search Ads, and I'm like, hey, let's scale it. It's not like increasing budgets and it's gonna spend, right? Because like you need to create the need in people to even search for certain keywords for that to happen in the first place. All right. So I always think of Apple Search as kind of like planting the seed before that you can, kind of enjoy the fruit out of that, right? Out of your labor. So what that means is that whenever I wanted to scale Apple Search Ads, I would make sure that I'm scaling on the push campaigns as well. So I would push Facebook, I would push Snap, right? I would push Google UAC. Yeah, that depends, right? Because like that's a black box, so you don't know if it's gonna go to search or actual display. So that's also, but definitely Facebook, I would scale that, right? And suddenly, like I'm getting more impressions, and even though impressions are not gonna give me any money, it's possibly creating that incentive in people, so they're like, oh, I've seen this, like some this resonates with me, let me just like search, let me just see what that is about, right? So that is that first step that creates the need in people to search for something, and then you can scale, right? Because like there are no people to scale, so you can't just scale it.
Really extraordinary approach, I think, about pull and push. And a little bit later, we'll talk about, I think, I don't know, maybe you'll correct me if TikTok is a push case. And one more small question about Apple Suggest. I was wondered, when you worked with Apple Suggest, have you ever noticed that these paid campaigns, right, that they affect your organic ranking? Um, have you ever noticed that SA affects SO?
Totally. I think that ASA plays a role in, like I said, the whole pie of acquisition, but you should also think of it from a different perspective, and that is to boost your ASO. Because actually, it didn't occur to me back in the day, right? But I realized again, thanks to SEO, that you can do all the things that you want to do, and then you can buy the paid tools to kind of give you all the metrics, but you never really get the actual numbers, like the people behind it, right? And what
Yeah.
SEO provides you with is the Google Search Console, right? So suddenly, like, you are seeing all the analytics behind all the queries of the people, right? And then you can be like, oh, this kind of keywords make sense, right? And then if you're smart, then you just take a list of that keywords and try to look at it in all the Google AdWords or Google Ads called these days, tools, or even in the keywords planner itself, right? So then you can get like all the expected CPC. And like I said, if you're really smart, you can kind of figure out, oh, okay, if the CPC is higher, and there's more volume and whatnot. So like you can connect the dots. In ASO, there is no such thing, right? There is no Google Search Console or whatever. So you have like no insights. I was even doing ASO back in the day when the Google Play console wouldn't give you the breakdown of keywords, right? So right now they're getting you some queries. Back in the day, it was just like, oh, search, like that's it. This is your search traffic. This is the what's it called, store listing visitors, right? From search. These are the app installs from search, and that's it. Bye. Like, we're not gonna give you any more than that. So now I'm like, wow,
Do whatever you wish with this information,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Like, just do your magic, man. We're not helping you any more than this. Like, okay. So yeah, back to the point. I think if we don't have all these, then I mean we can't really make a good and like informative decision, without these insights, right? And so I kind of need to find a way. And I figured out that the best way to figure these things out is through ASA, really. So you just like start bidding on keyword. I don't know. You can compartmentalize them, based on interest or groups or whatever. Just like segment them in different ad sets, and then you run them against the people, and then you see in the campaigns what's working how, right? So you have the, not CTR, but the tap through rate, right? Then obviously spend also plays a big role, right? I mean, if some ad group or campaign cannot spend, then that also says something, right? It's not like Apple doesn't want your money. It's because there is like no demand, right, for that query. So yeah, through these, you get the insights, and then you implement it in your ASO, right? Because it's quote unquote for free. It's like doing ASA with all the insights for free. Whereas if you do ASO and then you just like, oh, these seem like good set of keywords that I could start ranking for, and then you really do start ranking for that, but then you realize there's no traffic coming out of these keywords, right? So yeah, totally. I think there's a really a lot to uncover, and a lot of potential in the collaboration of ASO and ASA.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Yes, there are discovery campaigns on Apple Suggest, and many utilize this channel for this purpose. And thank you for sharing your experience. And I've already mentioned TikTok. Really, I think this is a really promising channel. For me, this is still something new, but I know that the most smart guys have already leveraged this channel, and I know that you are among them, of course. So I wanted to ask you to share some tips. I don't know, 1, 2, 3, or some core things you understood while working with this channel. What works for TikTok audience? By the way, is it Generation Z, in your opinion, or the audience is much wider? And I like asking more. Sorry for that. A few questions in a row. And the second one: are there any um, other promising channels such as TikTok?
Yeah.
So the first one is about tips to succeed on TikTok, and the second one about maybe there are some other channels such as
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, TikTok is very close to my heart. Not because I would want to promote this platform or channel, but because I actually discovered it a long time ago. I think like 20 end of 2017, 18, something like that. Back in the day where it was not even in Europe. I don't think it had the TikTok label yet. So it was just the I forgot the name, but in China they have a different name for it, right? And then they would become TikTok and it would be in Europe.
Uh, Sorry, ByteDance, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so ByteDance is the company behind it, but even in China they would have a different kind of like consumer.
Different name.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
like Don something. Yeah, I forgot it now. Never mind. Um, and I remember first jumping on TikTok when it first entered Europe from Asia. But the problem was that like technically the app was here in Europe, but all of the creators, all of the content creators, like were like Asian, right? And the content was super Asian. And even though I'm Asian, so I'm Asian, just to put it out there, but I was born and raised in Czech Republic in Europe, so I feel very European, right? And it's something I've been brought in this environment. And again, this may offend other people, but the Asian content is just not my thing. So it just feel very cringy to me, like the way the influencers or people would kind of present themselves on it and all the cute and like kawaii thing. It's not my thing, right? And so I open it, it's like, God damn it! It's like, what is this, right? This is basically China, like invading Europe. But like I kept kind of trying to see through that, right? I was like, let me try to uh, like block the actual content, and let me try to understand the methodology of that content, right? Like how is this content different from the way that people present themselves on social media that we have today, or like that are trendy and hot today, right? So obviously Snap and Instagram. And I've seen that it's super unique, like it's nothing like Instagram. And it's similar to Snapchat. It just seems more entertaining, right? So today, I would not even call TikTok a social media platform, but rather like an entertaining platform, right? Because you jump on it and you would easily spend hours on it because like it's so funny, right? And the algorithm is so smart that it gives you the right content, so it's so funny. And I've seen that from kind of Snap, peaking out and being like a big thing. I think that they took the leverage over Instagram by speed, right? Because Instagram, it needs to be created and perfect and whatnot. And so if you want all that, it takes time. Like practically, it takes time to be that perfect, right? Whereas Snap is like boom, done, and you send a snap or 10 seconds video, and you don't worry about it too much because I mean it's gonna vanish in 10 seconds anyway. So I've seen TikTok is actually similar to that. Like they don't care about all the things, all the filters too much. They just need to be funny and wanted to put it out. So that's the speed that I think made Snapchat big. And I've seen that in TikTok, and I'm like, this is it. Like this is gonna be big, right? So it was like end of 2018. I went to my VP. I was like, man, this is gonna be big. Like you gotta sign me up on this one. Give me some budget and I'll jump on this one. I was like, nah, it's like they wanted to be a little too conservative and like, yeah, let's not like try something else. Why can't you like spend it on Facebook? And I'm like, I can spend it on Facebook, but I want to try this out, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's where the fun is. Yeah, this took like a year. End of 2019, I was finally able to jump on TikTok. We're actually one of the first, I think, or at least one of the very few gaming advertisers on TikTok. And yeah, the rest is history. So now everybody's talking about it, right? Everybody's trying to figure it out. And again, I'll try to cut it short. not too complicated, creative is king, and let me say this, creative on TikTok, to figure that out is next level. Like, I have never seen any channel that would be as difficult and really as complex to figure out when it comes to creative. Because always try to think of it that, a lot of UFOs would come and be like, oh, this is what our competitors are doing. But the thing is that, like, you are like, it's not like the end user would see 10 different ads of 10
Yeah.
different products and be like, oh, I want to go with this guy. It's always like a set of like native organic content, right? So you need to be at least like as appealing and as entertaining as the native organic content that people see, to make them click on your ad, right? Otherwise they just like stick with the ad, right? So like, you're not competing with other advertisers, you're competing with TikTok itself and with the native content in there. So you really need to up your creative game to be able to even like have a chance among these guys.
Yeah, totally. Because I think the audience of TikTok is so creative, and you with your ad should beat this audience, and this is really tough, I think. But yes, this channel, I think, is really, really very promising. And you said you're excited about TikTok. You were excited from the beginning, and maybe there is a technology. For example, I don't know, artificial intelligence or machine learning. Um, is there any technology you are excited about, and you think that the future lies in this technology?
No,
Overall, in general,
overall,
not
okay.
only in terms of mobile.
Yeah, I mean, I'm following Mark Zuckerberg, right, on Facebook, and I think he's just in full like robots mode. Like, he's not even posting anything, on like human rated anymore. It's all about like VR and Quest 2 and whatnot. And I have to admit, like, it's super cool, and I don't know if it's just because like I like technology and I'm fairly nerdy, or would that come to the broader audience as well. But I'm very excited to see where this goes. Unfortunately, I have no hands-on experience on it. I mean, it would also be kind of sad if we would all just be sat down at home sorry, and like wear the glasses and be in VR all day, because we know from the COVID times that sitting at home all day is not fun. So yeah, I don't see that like taking over the world completely, but in some scenarios, in some places, I think VR could really make a difference, right? And it usually goes like VR and AR. So working with Snapchat a lot, I've had the chance to develop a couple of AR lenses, and I have to say it's super cool. Maybe not so much in the gaming industry yet. So I think with the team we've managed to create some really cool AR lenses even for gaming, but there are technical restrictions and size restrictions, so that kind of decreases the experience of a user. But I've also worked with ecom, and I think that's absolutely game changing to have AR in there. I think over time it's just going to increase the intent purchase, right? The conversion rate, because like people would see, I know, a pair of sneakers, literally on their feet. You could see how that looks, right? Hopefully, it would also decrease the return rate, for example. That's one of the big problems of e-coms, I would say. So yeah, that's totally cool. And then last technology, I think is also taking the word, and it's really cool. And I have no idea how it's gonna fold out. Is unfold is voice AI. Because my home is now full of Alexa, and I have like everything connected to Alexa. So when I go to sleep, I'm like, hey Alexa, good night, and it knows to turn off the music, turn off all the lights, and stuff like that. So super cool. But imagine that this enters the whole business world, right? Marketing, suddenly you will have all the marketing in like voice AI. It's going to be crazy. So I'm super pumped, because I always cherish and I am like empower all the new stuff. And I love to come to an industry or to a change of industry that's untapped, and I have to figure it out. Because back to my very first answer, right? That's how I got where I am, and I think that's the not the only way, but the best way, at least for me.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the right way. And I'm also so excited about all this smart home concept about Alexa. But to be honest with you, I'm a little bit afraid in terms of some privacy issues, you know, like. But don't don't you afraid of that? Oh, that's totally okay, and you. Um, you think Alexa and such technology are reliable enough today in
Yeah, yeah,
2021?
yeah. I mean, that's a big topic, right? I have a friend of mine sent me
Yeah.
a joke, and he was like, "Yeah, I was asking some guy, from Google, if Google Home is like actually listening to you," and they're like, "No, Google Home is not listening to you. Only when you say, 'Hey Google.'" So I'm like, "Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense, right?" So
Yeah.
yeah, I think there definitely is a lot of question marks, right, when it comes to that, especially when there's like a device that's listening, literally listening to everything you say, right? And then on the other side of that device are companies like Google, Amazon, and Apple. So yeah, there's definitely an aspect to it. I like personally, I'm not too worried about data privacy. I don't know. I just like, as long as I'm not doing anything criminal in my life, I'm like whatever. Like if people
Okay,
know what I'm
listen.
doing, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like just like I just try to control whatever I say so that I don't end up in jail. But when that's out of the picture, I'm like, yeah, you can listen to whatever I say. I don't care.
Have
But I
fun,
understand
guys.
that most of the people are not like that, right? So it's just like me being in that regard. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. As long as I don't have to get up and turn off the lights, I can tell Alexa to read it for me. It's okay. We're good.
Cool. I should definitely try it as well because I think this technology is really amazing. And you mentioned, and I mentioned privacy, and this ATT framework by Apple introduced new privacy updates, and this is definitely an elephant in the room, and opinions differ here. And I wanted to ask you as a user personally, when you install a new app now from the App Store, if you're an iOS user, of course, do you allow tracking? I think I
Surprise.
know the answer, but I wanted to hear that from you.
That's a funny question because yeah, I mean, from the marketer perspective, we can go on this topic for hours, right? I think that's why you specifically asked for me as a user perspective, and I'll probably surprise you because the answer is not what you would thought. The answer is that I haven't even updated my software to be there. Like I don't know why. Maybe it's just like unconscious, solidarity, because like it's so much pain on the work side. And on the personal side, I'm like, you know what? I'm sticking with the good boys, like good old boys. We're just I think I'm still rolling with like 14.2 right now. So whenever I download anything, I don't even have the ATT there yet because like it doesn't have to be there. So like I said, I'm not too worried about it. And even if I had like 14.5 and newer, I don't know, I'll probably still keep it in there, because I'll just like feel with whoever is on the other side of the app, trying to track and collect data. And like, you know what, I'm not gonna be a pain in your ass. I just try to be a nice guy to you, and then so you can see some data.
Yeah, great. And to finish up, the last but not the least question, we've talked a lot about entrepreneurship, about trying something new, always researching, doing unconventional things. And in terms of marketing, you've tried really a lot. You have a great professional journey, and what do you think about the difference between marketing for mobile businesses and for non-mobile businesses? Overall, we're not saying that non-mobile businesses they don't have SEO. We understand that, but probably which one you like more? You like more mobile industry and marketing related, or you like digital marketing in general? What do
Okay,
you
you mean
think?
like mobile in terms of like mobile apps, right? Because you could have like
Yeah,
an
yeah,
e-com
yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
also
Ah, yeah,
mobile.
yeah, yeah. Mobile apps and games. Yes.
Um, I would have to say that today with ATT being out, mobile I guess is slightly easier, right? Because at least you don't see as a marketer, there's a lot of things you don't see, unfortunately, and you have to figure out how to look at things now to be able to evaluate and continuously steer the budget the right direction. But at least you have the app, right? And when it comes to the app, yeah, like ATT, either people would allow or disallow. If it's a game, you can force people basically to have the game ID or whatever it's within it, right? And then you can like track the progress and whatnot. So at least it's like like first party data that you can work with, right? And so while we marketers, we are basically doomed. There's nothing that could help us. At least like the game team could see something, right? Like the studio and whatnot, like the product managers. But in like e-coms, once you lose this data, it's super tough because like, yeah, you see the purchases, but that's like the end result, right? How about the whole funnel that's between landing page and everything that's prior to purchase, right? Like you're not seeing any of that, be it, I don't know, bounce rate or conversions throughout the funnel, or how long people like stay on the page, and things like these, so and then if you just like rely on Google Analytics, then again, right, it's not your data, it's somehow already aggregated, so it's not super raw. You don't know what the definition of these events change. It's just crazy. So in terms of that, I think that mobile apps is managing apps is slightly easier, but it's still super tough to figure it all out, right? But I'm just saying that that's like anything non-mobile app has it slightly different. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. I can't but agree with you. And this hour has flight so fast because I think we have had such an interesting talk, and I wanted to say thank you for joining me today, for sharing your experience, for sharing your extraordinary thoughts, and I think this will bring many of our viewers and listeners to rethink some points, rethink some things they are doing in terms of their mobile businesses. Thank you so much, Tom.
Awesome. Thank
This
you for
was
having
really
me.
cool.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day. Bye.
You too. Bye bye.